Before he says hello, before the words even form, something already changes. This is where real attraction reveals itself, quietly, instinctively, and without permission. When a man is genuinely drawn to a woman, his energy shifts the moment he sees her. It's not dramatic and it's not performative, but it's unmistakable if you know what you're looking for. His posture subtly lifts, his awareness sharpens, and his attention narrows as though the rest of the room has dimmed. This isn't a tactic, it's biology. From a psychological standpoint, attraction activates the nervous system. When someone matters, the body prepares for engagement. Muscles become more alert, movements more deliberate, and focus more precise. That's why a man who moments earlier seemed relaxed or distracted suddenly feels more present in your presence. He hasn't decided to try harder. His system has simply recognized something of value. What makes this shift so revealing is that it happens before conscious control has a chance to intervene. People can choose their words. They can manage their facial expressions. But energy is harder to edit in real time. The body reacts first and the mind follows later. This is why this moment carries such honesty. It's unfiltered. Even men who pride themselves on emotional restraint experience this internal activation when attraction is real. Desire bypasses strategy. Philosophically, this speaks to a deeper truth about connection. We like to believe that interest is something we carefully decide, but in reality, it often announces itself through attention. Attraction is not about effort, it's about orientation. When a man wants a woman, he doesn't just notice her, he turns toward her. His energy reorganizes around her presence. That reorientation is the first quiet confession. This is also where many people get misled. They look for grand gestures or overt flirtation and miss the subtler signs that are far more reliable. Real attraction isn't loud, it's concentrated. A man can be charming with many people, but the woman he wants experiences a different version of him, more alert, more grounded, more engaged, not because he's trying to impress her, but because she's affecting him. Understanding this changes how you interpret interactions. You stop overanalyzing what someone says later and start paying attention to how they arrive. Who becomes more alive when you enter the room? Who seems genuinely impacted by your presence? These are not coincidences. They are reflections of value. And this awareness does something important. It shifts the power dynamic. You stop chasing clarity and start observing reality. You no longer need to audition for attention or wonder if you're doing enough. Instead, you notice how people respond to you naturally. Attraction that is real doesn't need convincing. It shows up fully formed. Because when someone's energy rises simply because you're there, that's not something you have to earn or decode. It's something you recognize and choose to honor. The moment you learn to trust that instinctive shift, you stop chasing interest and start standing where genuine attraction already exists. Once you've noticed that initial shift in energy, the next place attraction quietly gives itself away is in his voice. This is one of the most reliable indicators because it's not something most people are consciously aware of, let alone able to control. When a man is genuinely attracted, his voice doesn't just communicate words. It carries intention. It slows. It softens. It becomes more deliberate, as though the moment deserves care. From a psychological perspective, the voice is closely tied to emotional regulation. When someone matters, we instinctively reduce noise. We choose clarity over volume. You'll often hear this when he greets you. The casual hey he uses with others turns warmer, steadier, and more grounded with you. Even his pacing changes. There's less rush, less filler, more presence. He's not speaking to be heard. He's speaking to connect. What's important here is that this isn't about flirtation or charm. A man can flirt easily when he's detached. But when attraction is real, his voice reflects emotional engagement. There's a subtle gravity to it. He may lower his tone slightly, not to impress, but because his nervous system has shifted into a more focused state. That change signals that the interaction matters to him. Philosophically, this reveals something essential about desire. When we care, we become intentional. We don't waste words. We don't rush moments. The way someone speaks when they're attracted reflects respect for the interaction itself. His slower pace, his warmer tone, his thoughtful pauses are signs that he's aware of the weight of the moment. He's not filling silence. He's honoring it. You may also notice a brief hesitation before he speaks, not awkwardness, but consideration. He's choosing his words rather than defaulting to automatic responses. That pause is significant. It shows emotional presence. He's engaged enough to think, how do I want to show up here? And that question only arises when someone matters. Many people miss this because they're listening for dramatic declarations or confident lines, but those can be rehearsed. Vocal warmth cannot. A man may say all the right things while remaining emotionally distant, but he cannot easily fake the calm sincerity that emerges when attraction is genuine. The body initiates interest, but the voice confirms it. Understanding this shifts how you evaluate connections. You stop being swayed by loud confidence or polished charm and start noticing who speaks to you with care. You recognize when someone is truly present, not just socially skilled. And that recognition gives you clarity. It helps you invest where there is depth, not just excitement. There's also an invitation here for you. When you feel that vocal warmth, that intentional pace, allow yourself to slow down too. Match presence with presence. Attraction deepens when both people meet each other in that grounded space. Because when a man's voice changes in your presence, it's not a strategy, it's a signal. And the moment you learn to listen for that signal, you stop chasing uncertainty and start choosing connections that feel steady, intentional, and real. Attraction doesn't raise its voice. It speaks softly and expects you to listen. After his energy has shifted and his voice has softened, the next place attraction reveals itself is in his eyes. Eye contact is one of the most honest forms of communication we have because it requires presence. You can say the right words and still be elsewhere, but you cannot truly meet someone's gaze without being in the moment. When a man is genuinely attracted, his eye contact changes in a way that's difficult to fake and even harder to ignore. Psychologically, sustained eye contact signals emotional engagement. When someone doesn't matter, our eyes wander. We scan the room, check our phone, look past the person in front of us. But attraction narrows focus. A man who wants you doesn't just glance at you out of politeness. His eyes settle. There's a stillness to his gaze, a sense that he's taking you in rather than simply acknowledging your presence. That stillness is not accidental, it's attention. What's particularly revealing is that this often happens even when he's trying to remain composed. He may manage his tone, his posture, even his words, but his eyes return to you again and again. That return matters. It shows where his mind naturally goes when he's not consciously directing it. Attraction pulls focus the way gravity pulls objects. It doesn't ask permission, it just happens. From a philosophical standpoint, eye contact is an act of recognition. To truly look at someone is to say, without words, you matter enough for me to be here with you. When a man is attracted, he's not just seeing you, he's acknowledging you. His gaze carries curiosity, openness, and a quiet invitation to connect. This is not about intensity or staring, it's about presence. The energy feels grounded, not performative. Many people misunderstand this signal, assuming that confident, exaggerated eye contact equals attraction. In reality, real interest often shows up as steadiness rather than boldness. It's the ease with which his eyes stay with you, even in silence. It's the comfort he has in holding that space without rushing to fill it. That comfort suggests emotional safety, which is a strong foundation for genuine connection. Once you become aware of this, you stop questioning yourself as much. You no longer wonder whether someone is just being nice. You start trusting what you experience in real time. When someone's gaze makes you feel seen, grounded, and valued, that's information. It's not something to overanalyze or dismiss. It's a signal worth respecting. This awareness also protects you from investing in people who enjoy attention but avoid connection. Some individuals will flirt, joke, and charm while keeping their focus scattered, but when attraction is real, attention consolidates. His eyes don't wander because his interest isn't divided. And here's the deeper invitation. Allow yourself to respond to presence with presence. When someone meets you with focused eye contact, slow down. Stay with the moment. Let the connection unfold without rushing ahead or pulling away. Because attraction that is real doesn't confuse. It clarifies. It steadies. And when a man's gaze consistently finds you and stays with you, it's telling you exactly where his interest lies, long before he ever finds the words to say it. The moment you learn to trust that look, you stop searching for certainty and start recognizing it when it's already in front of you. After you've noticed the shift in his energy, the warmth in his voice, and the steadiness of his gaze, the next signal of real attraction shows up in movement. Attraction doesn't stay theoretical. It expresses itself through the body, and one of the clearest expressions is direction. When a man is genuinely attracted, his body naturally moves toward the woman he wants, often without him even realizing it. Psychologically, this is rooted in approach behavior. We are wired to move closer to what feels rewarding and meaningful. When someone matters, distance feels unnecessary, even uncomfortable. That's why a man who wants you doesn't just face you politely. His body orients toward you. His shoulders angle in your direction. His feet point toward you. His torso subtly follows. Even in a busy or crowded space, he creates a small pocket of connection where his body says, "This is where I belong right now." What makes this so revealing is that it's largely unconscious. A man can decide to keep things casual. He can try to appear relaxed or indifferent, but his center of gravity gives him away. He leans in slightly when you speak. He steps a little closer than he needs to, not in a way that invades your space, but in a way that seeks proximity. That seek itself is the signal. From a philosophical perspective, attraction is directional. It has momentum. We don't just feel desire, we move toward it. When interest is forced or uncertain, there's often hesitation without movement. But when attraction is real, there's flow. His body responds before his mind has fully caught up. That's why these cues are so trustworthy. They emerge before strategy, before fear, before self-editing. This also clarifies many situations that feel confusing on the surface. Words can say one thing, and intentions can sound unclear, but the body rarely lies. If a man consistently positions himself closer to you, mirrors your movements, or subtly closes the distance when you interact, those behaviors reflect engagement. He is aligning himself with you physically, and physical alignment is often the precursor to emotional alignment. It's important to distinguish this from pressure. Healthy attraction respects boundaries. A man who wants you isn't trying to take space from you, he's offering himself into shared space. His body language communicates openness, not entitlement. There's a difference between leaning in with interest and pushing in with need. Real attraction feels inviting, not overwhelming. Understanding this changes how you read interactions. You stop getting swept up in charming words that aren't supported by presence. You begin to notice who moves toward you naturally and consistently, and that awareness allows you to choose based on reality rather than hope. There's also an invitation here for self-reflection. Attraction is mutual when both people lean in. Physically, emotionally, energetically. If you constantly find yourself leaning forward while someone stays back, that imbalance is information. It's not something to rationalize away. It's something to listen to, because attraction that's real doesn't keep distance. It closes it. And the moment you learn to recognize who naturally moves toward you, you stop chasing those who don't and start meeting the ones who already are. After his energy has shifted, his voice has softened, and his eyes have settled on you, the body completes the story. Attraction does not remain abstract. It becomes physical. When a man greets a woman he's genuinely drawn to, his body moves toward her almost automatically. This isn't about bold gestures or obvious advances. It's about orientation. Where his body goes, his desire has already arrived. Psychologically, this is one of the clearest signals because the body responds faster than thought. We are wired to move closer to what feels meaningful and safe. When a man wants a woman, his shoulders angle toward her, his feet point in her direction, and his torso subtly leans in. Even if he's trying to appear casual, his body betrays him. It creates a quiet alignment that says, "This is where my attention belongs." What's important to understand is that this movement isn't conscious. He's not calculating distance or planning proximity. His nervous system is responding to attraction by reducing space. Distance feels unnecessary when desire is present. Closeness feels natural. That's why this signal is so reliable, because it happens before strategy, before self-control, before words. From a philosophical perspective, attraction is directional. We don't just feel it, we move toward it. Desire has momentum. When someone matters, our body seeks connection the same way our mind seeks understanding. This is why forced attraction often feels confusing. There's effort, but no movement. Genuine attraction, on the other hand, flows. It pulls the body forward effortlessly. This is also where many people misinterpret mixed signals. Words can contradict, smiles can be polite, but the body rarely lies. If a man consistently positions himself closer to you, leans in when you speak, mirrors your movements, or finds reasons to remain physically engaged in the moment, that's not coincidence. That's investment. He's physically choosing connection over distance. It's crucial to note that this isn't about invading space or making someone uncomfortable. Healthy attraction respects boundaries while still seeking closeness. The difference lies in intention. A man who wants you isn't trying to take something from you. He's trying to be nearer to you. His body language feels open, not demanding, inviting, not imposing. That distinction tells you whether the attraction is grounded or self-serving. Once you become aware of this, your standards naturally rise. You stop being persuaded by verbal interest that isn't supported by physical presence. You begin to notice who consistently shows up, who moves toward you, who creates space for connection rather than distance. And that awareness saves you from investing in potential instead of reality. There's also a mirror here for your own experience. Attraction is mutual when both people lean in, emotionally and physically. If you find yourself always closing the distance while someone else stays back, that imbalance is information. It's not something to negotiate away or explain. It's something to acknowledge. Because real attraction doesn't keep you at arm's length. It doesn't hover in ambiguity. It moves closer, steadily, and naturally. And the moment you learn to trust what the body reveals, you stop chasing people who stay distant and start meeting those who are already stepping toward. Attraction that's real doesn't ask you to guess. It shortens the distance and lets you feel the truth. After you've seen his energy shift, heard the change in his voice, noticed the steadiness of his eye contact, and felt the way his body subtly moves toward you, there's one more signal that often goes misunderstood the moment his composure softens. This is where attraction stops being theoretical and becomes personal. When a man is genuinely attracted, a small part of his control slips, not because he's weak, but because the interaction suddenly matters. Psychologically, this is inevitable. When nothing is at stake, we are smooth. We operate on autopilot. But the moment someone becomes important, the nervous system activates. There's a desire to be seen positively, to connect, to not mess things up. That pressure creates tiny disruptions, pauses, hesitations, slight nervous movements that reveal emotional investment. Indifference is calm. Attraction is alert. You might notice him take a slightly deeper breath before speaking, adjust his jacket or watch without needing to, stumble briefly over a word, or smile in a way that arrives a fraction too quickly. These moments are easy to dismiss, but they're incredibly telling. They signal that he's no longer just being himself in a detached way. He's being affected by you. And being affected is the clearest sign of desire. What's important to understand is that this happens even with confident men. Confidence doesn't mean the absence of nerves. It means the ability to function despite them. When a man wants you, his confidence doesn't disappear. It becomes human. He's still grounded, but now there's something on the line. That's why these signals feel different from social awkwardness. They're not clumsy. They're intentional, mixed with vulnerability. Philosophically, this is where attraction becomes honest. We often associate control with strength, but real connection requires a willingness to be slightly unsettled. To want someone is to risk something: rejection, exposure, disappointment. Those risks show up in the body before they ever reach language. A man who remains perfectly composed around you is often emotionally uninvolved. A man who reveals small imperfections is revealing care. Many people misread these signals. They interpret nervousness as uncertainty or lack of interest, when in reality it often indicates the opposite. Someone who doesn't care has nothing to lose. Someone who does care suddenly has something to protect. That's why emotional stakes create visible signs, even in brief greetings. His system is responding to possibility. This awareness changes how you evaluate attraction. Instead of being drawn to flawless charm or polished confidence, you start valuing presence and sincerity. You notice who shows up fully, even imperfectly. You stop overlooking people who are quietly invested and stop chasing those who are impressive but untouched. There's also an empowering shift that happens here. When you recognize these signals, you no longer feel responsible for managing or reassuring someone into liking you. You don't need to perform or overcompensate. Your role is simply to notice, to stay grounded, and to let the interaction unfold naturally. Attraction doesn't need to be forced. It needs to be allowed. And perhaps the most important takeaway is this: real attraction leaves fingerprints. It disrupts ease. It introduces care. It softens control. So the next time a man greets you and you notice those small human cracks in his composure, don't dismiss them. They're not signs of weakness or confusion. They're evidence that the moment matters, because attraction doesn't show up as perfection. It shows up as presence with something to lose. After you've noticed the shift in his energy, the warmth in his voice, the steadiness of his gaze, the way his body moves closer, and even the small cracks in his composure, everything ultimately converges into one defining signal: the quality of his attention. This is where attraction becomes unmistakable, because attention is not automatic, it's chosen. And when a man is genuinely attracted, his greeting carries a kind of presence that cannot be faked or sustained without real feeling behind it. Psychologically, attention is one of our most valuable internal resources. Our minds are constantly filtering what matters and what doesn't. When someone doesn't register as important, our attention fragments. We half listen, we multitask, we drift. But when attraction is real, attention consolidates. A man who wants you isn't just physically there. He's mentally and emotionally present. He listens differently. He responds to what you actually say, not what he expects you to say. His focus sharpens not out of effort, but out of interest. This is why his greeting feels different. It's not rushed or generic. It's specific. There's an intentionality to it, as though he's stepping into the moment rather than passing through it. He notices small details, your tone, your expression, the mood you're carrying. That level of awareness doesn't come from politeness. It comes from engagement, and engagement is desire in action. From a philosophical standpoint, attention is a form of respect. To give someone your full presence is to acknowledge their significance. When a man wants a woman, he doesn't just acknowledge her existence, he prioritizes her experience. Even briefly, she becomes the center of his awareness. That's why this signal is so powerful. It reflects value, and value is at the core of attraction. What often confuses people is mistaking excitement for attention. Someone can be animated, flirt, audacious, and entertaining while still being emotionally unavailable. But genuine attraction is quieter and more grounded. It feels steady. You feel seen rather than impressed. That distinction matters because one feeds your ego while the other builds connection. When his attention is real, distractions fade. His phone stays where it is. His eyes don't keep scanning the room. His responses aren't delayed or absent-minded. He's there with you, and that presence creates clarity. You don't feel like you're competing for space or wondering if you're being tolerated. You feel chosen in that moment. Recognizing this changes how you relate to dating and connection altogether. You stop chasing validation and start observing behavior. You begin to ask a more powerful question. Do I have this person's attention naturally? Because if attention has to be fought for, it's not attraction, it's effort. And effort without desire is unsustainable. This awareness is also an invitation to honor your own value. When someone gives you their full presence, meet it with self-respect. Don't rush to perform. Don't overextend. Simply show up as you are and notice how they respond. Attraction deepens where presence is mutual. In the end, real attraction doesn't leave you guessing. It doesn't hide behind ambiguity or mixed signals. It shows up as focus, care, and intentional presence. When a man greets you with attention that feels personal and grounded, you're not imagining it. You're witnessing desire in its most honest form. Because attention is not just a signal of attraction, it's proof of priority. And the moment you learn to recognize that, you stop settling for interest that's scattered and start choosing connection that's real.